To keep the peace, to pioneer the future, this is the mission of your AAF. The Army Air Forces, in cooperation with the American Broadcasting Company, presents your AAF, a weekly report to the American people on its continuing operations throughout the world today, and its adventures in research which are pioneering for your better world tomorrow. Tonight is both an anniversary and a farewell, a beginning and an end. First of all, the anniversary. Just 10 years ago, this November 11th, a great free balloon 20 stories high rose from the deeps of a natural bowl in South Dakota's Black Hills and soared to the roof of the world. For a revealing report on the importance of this ascent, we take you now by Army wire recorder to our AAF radio correspondent in the Black Hills.
This is your AAF reporter, Captain Howard Finch, speaking from Harney National Forest in the Black Hills of South Dakota, not far from the town of Rapid City. At this moment, we're standing on the rim of a mighty natural declivity now called the Stratosphere Bowl. From this spot just 10 years ago, the Army Air Corps, in cooperation with the National Geographic Society, sent aloft the famous stratosphere balloon, Explorer II, sent it aloft to a new height never before or since attained by man, an altitude of 72,395 feet, almost 14 miles. Since arriving in Rapid City, we've talked to scores of men and women who were here on that memorable morning. Some of them were only children at the time, but their description is as vivid as though the flight had taken place yesterday. And so, as we look down a sheer drop of some 1,200 feet to the floor of the bowl, it seems easy to let the mind wander back to that November morning in 1935. You can almost feel the tense excitement that rippled through the crowd of 40,000 people who lined the bowl when Captains Orville Anderson and Albert Stevens climbed into the black and white spherical gondola of the Explorer and gave the command to cast off. You can almost see again the balloon like a giant silver bubble, towering 315 feet above the ground, higher than the dome of the United States Capitol. It's easy to imagine the sudden hush as a stray gust of wind caught the bag as it started up over the rim and wafted it tragically close to the rocks which line the eastern side of the bowl. And then the gasp of sheer relief as Captain Anderson, working with lightning speed, released 750 pounds of lead ballast, and the balloon shot skyward, higher, higher, and higher, to make history in the world of aeronautics, climbing upward into the heavens with its ton of scientific instruments, all of which functioned perfectly in the nearest approach to a natural vacuum in which man has ever placed himself. Little the world has realized that morning a decade ago just how vitally important the results of that flight and the data gathered were to become to America and its successful battle for supremacy of the air over Europe and Asia. And so it is that we view this spot in the Black Hills with a certain amount of awe and solemnity as we think of the tremendous role that it played 10 years ago. Then as now, your Army Air Forces was thinking of the future, experimenting, testing, probing the unknown. That flight proved the value of infrared photography, pressurized cabins, weather conditions at high altitude, air-to-ground communications, and scores of other discoveries that were to contribute so much toward America's tremendous victory in the air, just as the Air Force's program of today will contribute so much toward our future in the skies of tomorrow. This is your AAF reporter returning you now to New York.
Thanks to pressurized cabins, tremendous improvements in shortwave radio and communications, thanks to the advances in aviation medicine, all made possible by that balloon ascent 10 years ago, thousands of your GIs who might never have come back are home or are on the road to home. GIs back once again from the dream to the reality, who can agree fervently with Sergeant Bob Carroll as he sings, "I Can't Begin to Tell You."
could speak my mind like others do, I make such pretty speeches whenever we're apart. But when you're near, the words I choose refuse to leave my heart. So take the sweetest phrases the world has ever known, and make believe I've said them all to you. I make such pretty speeches whenever we're apart. But when you're near, the words I choose refuse to leave my heart. So take the sweetest phrases the world has ever known, and make believe I've said them all to you.
And now the farewell. Tonight brings to an end the wartime AAF radio programs. Your Fighting AAF has been brought to you throughout the war as an official military operation of the Army Air Forces. The officer charged with the Air Force's radio activities is the Chief of the Office of Radio Production, who, under the supervision of General Arnold's air staff, directs the policies and production of all AAF broadcasts, both domestic and overseas. To hear of these activities, we take you now to the nation's capital and Lieutenant Colonel Frederick Bisson. Go ahead, Washington.
Winning the war in the air took better men, better planes, and better weapons than the enemy could produce. But it also took words, millions of words, to explain an entirely new type of warfare to the men and women of America. Words that kept them in closest touch with the needs and activities of their own Army Air Forces. Words to explain the new meaning of air power. To reach young men who could qualify as aviation cadets and other flying personnel, General of the Army H.H. Arnold directed that official Army Air Forces programs be broadcast. With the aid of these broadcasts, hundreds of thousands of men were recruited in the shortest period of time. Flight nurses and WACs were obtained to serve with the ever-growing Air Force. And then, when our Air Forces were deployed in combat on every global air front, your Fighting AAF reporter teams flew missions over Germany and Japan with wire recorders. They broadcast on the spot eyewitness accounts of the deeds of our fighting forces from the air fronts beyond the battlefields to those waiting at home. Through these men, the American public could taste and understand the dangers of aerial combat being experienced by their own sons, brothers, and husbands. You may have heard Captain Tom Dolan broadcasting from a fighter plane while actually strafing Nazi tank columns, or Sergeant Hal Brown, for the first time in radio history, give an actual bombs-away report from a B-29 bombing Japan, or Captain Walt Sheldon broadcasting near Canton, China, the first combat paratroop drop. Since the Japanese surrender, Air Force broadcasts have reported the return of our overseas personnel. They have told the story of the Air Force's rehabilitation program and the release of our air crews to civilian life. But most of all, the programs have continued to stress the need for scientific and industrial experimentations with new types of aircraft. Through our wartime radio mission, we were able to achieve our planned objectives. And as General Arnold has said, quote, I have always regarded our Air Force radio broadcast as a strictly military operation whose objective of public understanding and support is just as vital as a mission in a theater of war. Now it enables us to write mission accomplished in the log of our wartime programs, unquote. The necessity for such an all-out weekly broadcast has passed. It is hoped that the vital stories and messages that were carried will continue to live in the consciousness of America as the AAF, symbol of America's air power, continues as a guardian of the peace and protector of the rights of liberty-loving nations throughout the whole world.
We return you now to your AAF in New York. Here's a toast to the host of men we boast, the Army Air we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, swimming to meet our thunder, and boys, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flame from under, off with one terrible roar. We live in fame, Argonne in flame. Nothing can stop the Army Air Force.
To remain the most powerful air armada in the world, to continue to open the new frontiers of the sky by continual research and scientific development, to be for America first in the air, to keep the peace, to build the future, this is your AAF. The All-Soldier Orchestra is conducted by Master Sergeant Felix Slatkin, and the program is produced and directed by Staff Sergeant Ian Martin. And now for your AAF, this is Corporal Larry Dobkin saying good night. And keep them flying.
This is the American Broadcasting Company.